My name is LaRonda McKay. I'm with RNA Productions, and we're doing a documentary on Do You Care? Today I have with me Deborah Howard. How are you?
Very well.
I'm well. So Deborah, what caused you to choose the route that you chose as a coping mechanism?
From the abuse and the pain that I went through, trying to cover it up through my addiction. It made me feel better, and I wanted to block everything else out of my life that caused me pain, and that's exactly what it did.
How long were you in the addiction?
25 years. 25 years. I hate my life. Back then, as I look at it from a clear perspective, as I got my life back on track, but I had to seek something that was much greater than myself, and I surrendered my life to the Lord. He cleaned my life up, gave me a second chance. I got my life just where I want it today, but back then I covered up trying to be a mother, trying to be a wife, trying to be a sister, and I hate it. I hate it, but I want my story to help someone out there that's still going through the addiction, that is hard for them, that they have not found that higher power today.
Right.
I just want to be that person. If my story can just help one person.
Absolutely.
It all began on Emory.
Okay.
That's where everything started. That's where basically my whole life changed right there. And from that day forward, everything just got worse. An abusive marriage. I hate that my kids got drug into that type of a lifestyle. And going through 11 years of a abusive marriage, it just tore my kids up. And today, I'm grateful. I'm thankful that that my life got cleaned up, and it was only through the will of the Lord. It was not nothing that I could have did, nothing that I did. It was Him.
Do you feel like the abuse was what led you to the addiction?
Yes, because I was trying to cover up the pain and the abuse that was going on back then. The drugs helped cover it up.
Mm-hmm.
It made me feel good.
So that was why you chose that as a coping mechanism.
Yes.
Okay. And when did you realize that you needed help with your addiction?
It was in 2005
Mm-hmm.
when I moved in Hawks Landing. Everything just progressed, got worse. And this one particular day,
So what happened at Hawks Landing?
it was one day, I was on my way to Mark's to get some potatoes. My son and my grandbaby's mother was waiting for me to go get the potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on my way out the door, going up the stairs. I was going to go outside the door, and I look, and I see all these police cars surrounding the building, and I got scared.
Right.
So I ran back downstairs and told my son. So whatever he did with the stuff, he went in the bathroom, but I heard him knocking at the door. So I said, okay, hold on. But they didn't want me to answer the door. They want to make sure that I was not, this apartment was not to be lived in no more.
Right.
So they wanted to bust down the door. So that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And they came in, and it was just like, the way they treated us was just like real, true criminals. They
Right.
just treated us so horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the day that my whole life changed. I hit rock bottom. My life changed from that day forward. I went to jail for 3 days. My daughter got the bond money to get me out. I got out. I didn't even want to go back to that apartment to get no clothes. I just wanted to start my life over again.
Mm-hmm.
And I prayed about everything. The Lord directed me down to the shelter.
Okay.
I went to the shelter for 4 months, and that was hell right there, because the women that was in there, a lot of them, they did not want nothing. They didn't want to do nothing. They knew that they had a place to lay their head. They had 3 meals a day, so they were comfortable living like that.
Right.
So I connected with the church, Integrated Faith Assembly, where I connected with one of the elders there. And from that day, all the way up until today, she has supported me. She used to come pick me up in her personal car just to keep me encouraged, you know. And I just appreciated that. They helped us with the appliances. I mean, not the appliances, but the stuff that we needed in our apartment. But even before then, when I did them 4 months in the shelter, they gave us a free apartment. It was in a brand new building. The apartment, they gave us TV, they gave us everything that we needed.
Right.
And the church helped me out with like clothes and things like that I needed. The building was basically a stepping stone for me.
How long were you there?
I was there for 4 years.
Okay.
They gave me Section 8. So I started encountering with people that was going through just what I went through.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of them wasn't trying to change. They were comfortable.
Right.
Because they had an apartment and they could invite all the people in and do whatever they want. So, but the Lord wanted to show me exactly how I was living. So my neighbor, he started having little parties, you know, and it was disturbing to me.
Okay.
So I had to look at my life, and that's how I was living.
Oh, okay.
So I cried out to the Lord, and he said, since you see this, and since your heart has seen that how you were living and you were ready to change.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, well, I'm gonna either move you or I'm gonna remove the problem.
Right.
All right, so a couple more months went by. It just got even worse and worse and worse. And then all of a sudden I said, you know what, I'm gonna go and try to get my voucher and move out. And I did. And the Lord had opened up that door. And it was just so ironic how when I came over here looking for an apartment, the Lord put me right back in the facility where I was when I was going through my addiction. And I wanted to understand why. Why would you put me back there? He said, because you know what? You're strong today.
Okay.
You're strong. And I don't have to worry about you going back out there You're here. I brought you here to help someone.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that.
And that's what he did. I stayed in Camden Village. I stayed there for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then I cleaned up my credit for 4 years because I started ordering stuff and not paying for it. So I, got to saying, wow, you know what? I want a house. The Lord said, you can't. You gotta clean up what you messed up.
Right.
So I cleaned up for 4 years. He gave me the extra money to clean up, to pay off these people. I went through these HUD housing classes, and I went to 6 of them, graduated, and the Lord blessed me with a house.
Well, that's great news. It's like a new start.
Yes, it is. And I have a beautiful job. I love my job. I'm a driver. I do a school route, and I have a client that I pick up and take to what is this? To the workshop.
Okay.
So, and he loves me. He
Good.
does. He's just such a sweet guy, and he just makes my day every day when I pick him up. Because when I ask him, "Hi, John, how are you doing today?" He said, "I'm doing good today.
Right.
How are you?" I said, "I am beautiful."
So, Deborah, what was your drug of choice, or what was your coping mechanism choice?
Crack cocaine, marijuana.
Was that introduced to you on your own, or did someone else introduce that to you?
Someone introduced it to me.
And what was your experience while you were taking it? Like, did it take you mentally other places, or did it just numb you of all your entire pain?
Yes,
what was your
did.
experience?
It numbed my whole body. Just basically like I didn't think about nothing in life. It was just all about me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
When my dad died, I went crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think I smoked more that day than I did in my entire 25 years.
Yeah.
Because he tried his best, because throughout my addiction, I did not want to pay no bills. I would pay half of my rent. I stopped paying phone bills, and he was there. He picked it up.
He was your crutch.
Yep, he sure was. He bought me a car. I rented it out, and it was one day we were ready to go down south, and he said, "Deborah, where the car at?" And looked down the street, and the neighbor had the car.
Why did the neighbor have the car?
Because he had asked me to use it, and I let him use it for a bad reason.
For a bad reason.
Yes.
Well, it seemed like you had a really good relationship with your dad. Can you
Yeah,
tell
I
us
did.
some
Because
fun
he tried so much to get me to change my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like after he passed away, and I cleaned my life up, he came in my dream. And he smiled down at me like, "I'm so happy that you got your life together."
Mm-hmm.
But he was basically looking at it. He didn't want to see the kids get caught up in it. But now, looking at my kids' lifestyle, their lifestyle is just following right behind me. They may not be using crack, but they're using other things. Yes. But then, I have to look at the lifestyle that my daughter, with my grandson, and, the things that I have done is horrible, that I've done to my kids. And I asked them to forgive me, but you lied to me when you said you forgive me, but then your action shows different. Right. Y'all don't want to have nothing to do with me today. I'm a horrible mother. You hate me. You call me all kind of names.
Well, first of all, you are not a horrible mother. Okay, and you're none of those names that they call you.
Thank you.
Okay, you are who your Father, Creator, calls you.
Amen.
All
Thank
right?
you.
So it doesn't matter what other people say about you. You have to say what you need to say to yourself about yourself. Yes. What do you say? You're healed.
Amen. Exactly.
And you're here helping somebody else heal.
Yes, I am.
So you're here with a purpose. Yes. So it don't matter what everybody else says.
It sure don't. That's
why. At the end of the day, it matters what you say.
Exactly. Okay. And that's why I had to distance myself from them, only because that every time I go around them, I'm always the bad person. They're not looking at the lifestyle spiritually from being caught up living in the world.
Right.
So we live two different lifestyles, and I have to keep pressing forward to that high mark.
Yeah.
And long as my life is living the way I'm supposed to live today in truth, nothing else matters.
Let me ask you this. What makes you smile when you wake up in the morning to a fresh, brand new day? What puts a smile on your face?
Because he woke me up with new grace.
Absolutely.
Yes, and mercies.
Absolutely.
And to know that he protected my children, my grandchildren, and my family. Yes, I pray for them every day so hard.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. And the Holy Spirit allows me to feel that they're okay.
So you said that your in-laws introduced you to cocaine. How did they introduce you to cocaine?
This one day I took my husband to work, and then it was in the summertime. I went back over to my mother-in-law's house because my sister-in-law had came in from California. So I'm sitting in the living room and stuff like that. So they were all in the back doing their little thing. So then one of them came up and asked me, Deborah, you want to try this? And I hesitated for a minute. Then I said, oh, it ain't gonna hurt nothing. So yeah, I did it. And it just numbed my whole body. And my husband was calling me to come pick him up. I couldn't even move. I couldn't even move to go pick him up. I just felt so rotten even after that. But even after that, it just got even more worse because, like I said, we started selling it. And that just gave me more access to it. I'm supposed to be out doing at the bar, selling it, sitting out in the car and stuff like that. But I'm sitting out there just using. So, and he found out because the money wasn't coming in right. And just like I got beat up behind that. And it was just like crazy. One day we were leaving. No, he called himself taking the money, leaving the apartment, and we was out there in the parking lot. He had a paper bag. I grabbed the paper bag. Money just like it just raining, and it was just crazy that day. He left me. I had no way of what am I trying to say? To basically keep the bills up because I was only working part-time. But it was just for that moment that he left. Because later on that night, after going through the abuse, and the makeup. So
let me ask you, when you tried cocaine for that first time, what was your mental state? Like, what did it make you feel like? Was there like a high after that you were chasing? Like, what did it make you initially feel like?
I felt good. Even that's why I wanted it more. Even after me feeling how it made my body feel, I wanted more of it. It made me, forget about my problems. It made me just, I'm in La La Land. That's just how I felt.
So when you smoked marijuana, did it give you that effect too?
Yeah, it made me silly. Marijuana made me real silly. I laughed. It made me feel good. I could go around my kids and just be fun. Yeah.
But cocaine was your choice.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what blocked out all my problems. Yep, and the more I got it, the better things were in my crazy thinking. My nephews was coming over, so everything was just falling right into place. I'm in La La Land now. I'm happy. I didn't have to go out and do this and do that for it because they were right here. So
can I ask you, how did you use your cocaine? In what form did you?
I would cook it in a spoon, let it hard to a rock, and put it on my stick. Yes, I because a lot of the products that you buy, sometimes people try to stretch it and make more out of it than what it is, and so they take a lot of soda up on it.
Okay.
So
did you ever do lines?
No, I never snorted.
Okay.
No, I never did. Yeah.
Well, you've come a long way.
Yes, and I am very proud of myself today.
Absolutely.
I really am. Yes.
So you endured the abuse, and the cocaine was your
Drug of choice.
drug of choice.
Cover up all of that
to match
abuse.
your pain.
And every time, he would beat on me, I would call the police, and they give me a court date to go down there in front of the judge. I would never do it.
Mm-hmm.
And Carl Stokes got tired of me. So this one particular time that I did show up in court, he looked at me and he said, "Miss Horn, I'm going to make an example out of you. I'm about to lock you up." So he did. He locked me up for a few hours, and he laughed. Donald laughed at me. My mother and my brother had to come and get me out.
Wow.
And then I get crazy phone calls. "Oh, how you like being locked up in jail?"
And Donald, is that the ex-husband?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is the story of my life that I went through when I got messed up being out here in the world, enduring all this stuff that, that could have really killed me. But by the grace of God, I felt like his hand was on me throughout my life. The guns I had to my head, my house got broken into. It was just crazy. They break it in my house thinking I had all of this stuff, but when they come in, I didn't have anything. Mm-hmm. The little stuff that they walked out with was nothing, but I'm glad they spared me and my kid's life.
Absolutely.
Yes. And it was just crazy.
Okay, so Deborah, tell me about the time in your marriage that it was abusive.
Yes.
Could you tell me about a time when you experienced that?
Yes, we lived on 112, and we both worked for a carrier service, but I worked part-time and he worked full-time. So this one particular day, mm-hmm. I was at home, and he was at work. So a package came in the mail. So I opened it up, and it was some dope. Mm-hmm. So I started doing little crazy stuff, knowing I shouldn't have, and he came home. And he realized that I tried to cover it up, but it didn't work. Mm-hmm. And then he tries to take it, basically take it and run out. Mm-hmm. But I'm just like, no. And he took his foot and kicked me in my mouth, and blood just went everywhere. But then busted my gum open. Mm-hmm. Then he rushed me to the hospital. I had to get stitches, and I'm sorry, and get home, same routine. It was just like it was just a routine. And, back then I'm thinking that, when you tell me you sorry, you didn't mean to do this, right. That I forgave you, and I knew that that's what love was. Mm-hmm. But as I got older, I'm just like, no, you can't love a person and hurt the person too.
Absolutely.
So it went on for 11 years, and just one day, I just really got tired of it, because it's just like when I call myself leaving him, it's just like we living in the same neighborhood, and, he was always there when I walked out the door.
Right.
I just got tired of it. So my grandfather gave me the money. I went down and just filed for divorce.
Wow. So it was physical abuse, mental abuse?
Physical, mental.
Psychological?
Yes, it was. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, no, he told me, ain't nobody gonna want you because you got 2 kids. And in my crazy thing, I used to think that too.
You started believing it?
Yep. Yep, I did. Every day. Why didn't I save myself for him? Why did I do this? Why did I have other boyfriends? And it's just, I never knew I was going to meet you.
Right.
Any
physical abuse in front of the children?
Yes.
And how did they behave?
They would run under the table.
Was he abusive to them too?
No, he didn't put his hands on them, but it's just that they got scared because they seen him putting his hands on me.
Mm. Are these the same children that don't speak to you now?
Yes.
Do you think they resent the fact that you stayed?
No, it's all about me. It doesn't, it's not, he has nothing to do with it. My daughter will tell you in a minute, oh, I love my daddy.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Even though he put his hands on it.
Yep. Yeah.
So they communicate and talk with him.
But he's dead now.
Okay, but they did communicate and talk with him, and now they don't with you?
Right.
That's horrible.
Yep, exactly. My son never had a relationship with him. He was a mama's boy back then, but now I have no response with my children. Mm-hmm. No relationship, no love.
So he was the person that introduced cocaine to you?
No.
No. Who was the person that introduced cocaine to you?
My in-laws.
Your in-laws?
Yes.
Wow, your in-laws?
Yes.
Do you still communicate with them?
No. I distanced myself. I had to distance myself because, when you start going around, just like my family, going around over there, even my kids smoking weed, drinking and all that other stuff, it's contagious. Mm-hmm. And, I'm sitting up here smelling this and stuff like that. Yeah, that can trigger me.
Yes.
So no, even though I have gone on 9 years recovery, I can't put my sobriety and I can't put my life in jeopardy.
So you have to change your entire life.
I had to, yes, I sure did. And it was not for a bad reason because I still love my children. Despite of however you feel about me, I still love you. Right. I don't feel the same way you feel about me. I want a relationship and I wish we could. All these years, even before we fell out, y'all tell me you love me, but I'm just looking like that was just a lie, just a cover up.
Yeah.
Just to make me feel good.
Yeah. Did you ever get any counseling for the abuse?
No.
Do you feel like you need it?
No, I don't. I am free from it today. It does not even bother me. Back then, yes, it did bother me. And no, matter of fact, I did get counseling for me and my kids.
Okay.
Yes, I did. And I can't remember exactly what they told me. I can't remember exactly what they told me, but yeah, we did get counseling because somebody had called in on me. Well, my neighbor across the street did, basically because of the activity that was going on and little things like that. So I had to do it. It was basically they made me do it. It wasn't nothing that I volunteered to do. Okay. Yes.
Do you regret it?
No, I don't. No, because it has helped me and it made me grow, get stronger. And, all the so-called friends I had back then, they look at me like I live such a bad life.
So how many years clean are you today?
I have 9 years. It'll be 9 years, May the 30th.
Good job.
Yes.
That's a milestone.
Yes, it is. And I'm proud of myself.
And you should be.
Yes, I am. Even just, like I said, going over my mom's house and just being around the little activity and stuff like that, I just don't have that desire no more. I just don't. Yes, I smoke cigarettes. I have 7 years from smoking cigarettes.
Good job.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so yeah, none of that bothers me no more. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're proud of you.
Thank you. Now let me ask you a question. Do you care?
Hi, this is Raymel Adams here with RNA Productions. We're doing a documentary titled Do You Care? And I'm here today with Deborah Pendarvis. So Deborah, when did your addiction start?
I was 24 years old. I had been with an abusive relationship for 8 years. My husband had, he was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and he used to beat me all the time. He hit me in the head with channel locks when I was pregnant, forced me to have 2 abortions. One night he kicked me in my face trying to kill me and broke my jaw in half right here. And then he took a .38 to my head one night and pulled the trigger, and and he only had one bullet in the 38, and he put the gun to my head, and he called me a lucky, I don't cuss anymore, but that word, and then he put the gun right here, and point blank range and shot me with a 38. But I think about a year before he shot me, and after he broke my jaw, I caught him in the bathroom shooting up cocaine, and I usually like threw it away and stuff like that, but that day I just like stuck out my arm and saying, here, let me see what you get out of this. And I thought that he would say, no, I love you, I wouldn't do this to you, but instead he shot me up my first time, and all the pain went away, and I found something to numb my pain.
So Deborah, why do you think your husband shot you with the needle instead of telling you no?
Because one thing, I kept on fighting him, I kept on catching him with drugs, and I would throw his drugs away all the time, and I wouldn't let him get high in the house. And another thing is, after I got addicted, that was another way of control.
So Deborah, how did you feel during your addiction?
At first, I liked it because it was an escape, and all the hell that I went through before, I didn't have to live in that hell. So at first, it was like an escape. It was really good at first, and but I was addicted for 28 years. So at the end, it was like I was tormented by demons. Every time I would get high, I'd get paralyzed in fear. And I would be too scared to even move. But when the drugs wore off, I had to go get more. So it was just crazy. It was just a crazy going around in circles trying to get one more. But I felt very ashamed, I had low self-esteem. It was just awful. I used to wander the streets, not even knowing where I was or where I was going to get another one. I didn't have a place to live at one time. I was just wandering the streets, just like nowhere to go, just wanting one more. Well, when I lived with my husband, he was very abusive, so he would throw me out all the time, and he fully controlled everything, the money. I wasn't allowed to work, so he would throw me out, and the only people that would accept me was the people in the street. So I worked at a bar. There were a lot of drug dealers coming from Mexico. And I didn't know. This is the first time I prostituted, and I didn't know I was prostituting. I met this man, and he gave me all this attention, money, and I wasn't into drugs yet. But one day I went to the bar looking for him, and these girls were laughing at me, and I said, well, where's he at? And they said, well, he's with this one girl, and I'm going, well, she's a prostitute. And they started laughing at me, so I felt like a fool. So at that moment, from that day, I was like 21, I started prostituting. That was my first time, and it was before I did drugs. I said, no man's going to take advantage of me again, so if they want this, they're going to have to pay for it. And then I started hanging around at the bars, working at the bars. Different men would come, drug runners from Mexico, and whichever man that had the most dope, that's who we went off with. And I found I was a girlfriend to a couple of them, and that's how I started. And they would offer me drugs at that time, and I didn't want them. I just liked that somebody treated me nice, and they thought I was beautiful, and so that's how that started. Just as an innocent, going to the bar, and then men making me feel like I was beautiful. I guess that was my first addiction. When I got shot, I left I left my husband for about 3 weeks because it was on my birthday. It was in September. This was in November. I came home, and that's when I always kept the gun put up. But he didn't have the gun put up. He had it underneath the couch cushion waiting for me. I'd been off for 3 months getting high with the people out in the streets, the guys that come from Mexico, they had a lot of drugs, so I just got caught up with the drugs, and he caught me out in the streets. And one time told me to come home, and I was with a man, and I told him no, I wasn't going home, that I have a new man, and I wasn't going to be bothered with him. And then, like, when I finally came home, I was just going, I don't know why, I guess I was bored, it was in the middle of the night, and I came to see him, and he was waiting on me. and I didn't see my kids for 3 months. I mean, they had just took my kids away from us. The welfare had my kids, and I remember the one time the welfare lady came in the house, and I was in the bathroom shooting up, and I would not come out of the bathroom, and I couldn't get my vein, and I was not going to stop till I got my vein, even though I knew the welfare worker was sitting in the living room. I took off and left my kids. Didn't think about them. I thought with their father, he was abusive to me, but he was very good to my children, even when he adopted my oldest daughter. So I guess, I had to look at where he was at too, because, they just took his kids. I'm not trying to help him get his kids back. I'm out in my addiction. We're both crazy. He's doing his thing. I'm doing my thing. And it was like I had no control over my life. I had no control over my kids. I could not take care of my own children. I could not love. I mean, the addiction is so demonic. You can't even hold your own children, or it's just you're so self-absorbed about what I wanted to do. It wasn't about what was best for my children. It was about me getting one more. Everything was about getting one more. And then I didn't want to be around him because, I come home, I'm being abused. I tried to come home. I came home several times, but he would abuse me. So I would either get thrown out or he would run me off. But then when he wanted me to come back, he would have drugs, and he would go out on the streets and find me and say, hey, I have something. Why don't you come home for a couple hours? And he knew that was a trap to get me stuck back there. So this is what happened. They took my kids away. My oldest daughter, the state of Texas took her. She was abused in her foster home. She was, they put her in a child behavior research center till she was 18. My other 2 children, I gave my daughter up for adoption to my mother-in-law that I love so much. She lived in Indiana, and my son kind of stayed with us for a couple of years. But it was like I moved to Indiana to go be with my child and got off the drugs for, a couple of years. But but my husband was still being mean to me, so I took off to the bars. I actually ran off and got married to somebody else to get away from him. I wasn't legally married to him. I got married to somebody else, and I had been working. I got my first job at 30 years old, was working, got a new car, just doing real good. And then after a couple of months of my marriage, I wanted to go to Texas, and somehow I went to Texas, and I was going to bring me something back. And I didn't know that I was addicted. I was just I'm gonna go get me something real good. And then my boss goes, hey, if you're going down to get you something, bring me something back. And then when I went down there, I saw an ounce cost like $100 more than what I had. So I had this idea, why can't I sell it? So I got enough for me to use, and I would bring back to sell. And so for like about good 6 or 7 months, maybe a year, I was going back and forth to Texas running drugs. I even got stopped one time by the Texas, the Texas Rangers. They searched me. I had 4 ounces in my bra, but they didn't find it. I should be still in prison today. By the grace of God, I'm not. With that husband, the second husband, after 6 months, he started beating me. He started using the drugs that I went most of the time by myself to Texas. He would use the drugs to buy other women. Well, he would be with women. I'd go to the motel with my own dope. I wasn't thinking about men. I just wanted the drugs. I didn't want the men. That marriage lasted about 1.5 years. It was real chaotic. He was abusive too, but he was smaller than me. I could take him on. And then the drugs were gone again. This is Indiana. It was hard to do drugs. I got into a really good relationship. Really good. This man loved me. He was 17 years younger than me, but that didn't matter. We had a good life and everything. And I didn't know I didn't know that stuff took over on me like that. I went to, I remember we went to Texas one time and picked something up, but when it was gone, it was gone. I just knew I was going to miss it for a couple of days. And when it was hard, for the first week I was like, oh man, I miss my drugs. But then after a week I forgot about it. But then one time we were in a really good relationship, and we hadn't done anything for about 1 year. I was keeping my grandson from my daughter. He was a newborn baby. He was everything to me. He stayed with me every day. And when I was living on a farm with him, and some Mexican come by, and I thought they were asking me, do you have any dope? And I said, no, I don't sell it anymore, because I sold up in Indiana. He said, no, I have some for you. So he gave me some, and I went in the house and did it. And once I came in, my little grandson was in. I could not touch him. I could not, the feelings that I felt for him an hour before, I could not feel nothing. It like blocked the love off from my son. I still loved him, but there was something blocking that. I saved enough for my boyfriend, because I knew if my boyfriend took a hit, I was being manipulative. If he got some, he would actually, go get more. So that's how it was. I was in a good relationship, and then when he was at work, I would go to the drug dealer. I always went for the drug dealers. I didn't go for nobody else. I went to him, started tricking him behind my boyfriend's back. He found out. And somehow it's like it just found me. I didn't look for it, it found me. And I found this other dope dealer, and he had lots of dope real cheap. And up in Indiana, you can't get that. So I could sell it for half, whatever he gave it to me, I could sell it for double so I could get mine. And I started doing that. The relationship went down real fast. Me and him started going and buying dope, and we kept on going. He was only like 22, 23 by that time. I was with him 5 years. It was killing him. One time I come home, he tried to hang himself from the ceiling, and then I come home one day and he hit his head with a hammer. But it was because those they're so demonic. Those demons will come and they will torture you. I had good grace with my landlord. He would give me a place to live in. When he would call me up and say, Deborah, you ain't paid the rent in a couple of weeks. And I'm like, I smoked it. He would say, you smoked my money? I said, yes, sir, I did. So he had other houses. He says, well, I need you to go clean this house, or I need you to go repo a car for me. Can you do this for me? And I said, yes, sir, I will. And I said, I'm sorry. And I was really sorry. But I couldn't stop. I had an accident. I got DUI, and I didn't even think about the woman and the children that I ran out in front of and could have killed them. So I got a DUI, so I had to do something. The man that let me live in the house free, he was dying of cancer. His son took over. His son threw my neighbor out because she didn't pay her rent. But he came over one day, and I was so ashamed. And I opened the door, and I said, I don't have any money. And he said, you don't have money? I said, no. He pulled out $50, and he said, my dad said to take care of you. But see, I had a good heart. I felt like I was taking advantage of that man. Instead of paying rent, I was doing drugs, and I couldn't stop. My boyfriend left, and I loved him, and it was just, so I found my way into rehab. And plus, I was going to court, and I couldn't pass a drug test, and they were fixing to put me in jail. So I checked into my first rehab, and I got clean, and I ended up doing AA in the jail by myself for about a year. I was a director of the halfway house. I had all that going on. And for some reason, I left the jail one day after I was talking to women about drugs, and the thought crossed my mind, Deborah, you can do just one. You've been doing so good. Why can't you go do one? And I went and drove. It was about 45 miles away. I didn't know where to get it, but I kind of knew. I went to Shelbyville, and I found it. And then I was thinking, what if I don't do it here, I'll be okay. So my daughter was out of town, and she lived up in Indiana. It's like another hour away. So I drove to Indiana while she was out of the house, and I relapsed. And I thought I was just going to do it for that night. I thought I was going to stop, but it didn't stop. I mean, after doing all of this, I ended up in Shelbyville with some guy that said he loved me. Within a week, he was beating me. I stayed with him 3 months and didn't use. And then when he started beating me so bad, and I was living right in the middle of it, so I just decided, you can't beat him, join him. So I started using again. And this time, it was in 2006. It took me down dark places that I never was before, because I used to laugh at the girls when I was selling dope and saying, why are they coming over here with $10, $20? And I would laugh at them and tell them to get on my face for that, come back when you got some money. And I guess I got my payback for that, because when I sold myself, I would get hundreds of dollars at first. Down this girl, them girls were getting $10, $15, $20. And I'm like, $20, are you crazy? But I wanted the next one, and I sold myself for a lot less than that. And I would just take whatever I could get. I was staying in Shelby Hotel. I got tired of people using me and taking my money. or I had a car, but I couldn't drive it because I lost my license and I wasn't supposed to be driving it. So I rented it out to a dope dealer, and he would bring me just a little piece every day to use my car. I had to walk to my tricks. I would walk upside Shelbyville all the way down one day. I'd stay in a hotel. I'd try to get 2 days ahead of time, so if I got stuck, I would have a place to live. And I said, I'm tired of people. I'm just doing this by myself. So I said, I don't have a pimp. I'm gonna just do this by myself. So I'd walk down Shelbyville one side, and I would trick until I'd get enough money for enough dope for the night and my rent. And about 5 o'clock in the morning, I was just like crawling around looking for one more, and I couldn't get it. And I would hear the devil tell me, you're gonna get up, you're gonna walk down there to these apartments. So like 500 apartments there. He goes, you're gonna knock on those doors and you're gonna get whatever they give you. And I was so degraded. And when you knock on their doors, you have to get what they took. I would do it with their wives in the house. I'd go behind the houses with them. I didn't care. I didn't care if they were married. I didn't care. The house full of Mexicans, I would just go in there with all of them. I call that making a lick. I remember one night when I did that same night, that I remember going in those apartments. It was so cold. You know, in the summertime it's okay, but this was so cold, and I was just looking up, and it was just the emptiness inside of me. And I remember seeing they was like, I heard the cold winds from nowhere were just blowing, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But that stuff had me so under control that I couldn't stop. I knew I was doing wrong. I was degrading myself, but I could not stop until I got my money. And this is the way I lived. And I remember one time going out, and I already had my money that I needed, and I got raped. And I came back and had blood running down my legs, and I was going home. I was trying to get to the hotel. My friend, by that time I didn't have a room. My friend, he had a hotel room, and he would let me stay there if I'd split my dope with him. And I remember coming to the motel room, and I said, I get mine first. And I was all bloody, but I remember right after this guy raped me, and I already had my money. I don't know why I got in a car with him. And then when I was coming back, and I still had a long, long way to walk to the hotel, these guys came and asked me if I wanted to ride. And I wanted to get in the car, but I remember just what happened to me. And I told them, no, thank you, I can walk home. So I walked home, and when I got to the motel, I told the guy, I said, I hope you know I get mine first. Look what I had to go through, so I'm getting mine first. And it just kept going on. And that went on for like a year. My son and his father, I called my son one time. I got my kid's father and his brother, we used to shoot up together, and they gave me hepatitis C back in the day. And I don't know, I started getting swelling in my finger, and I guess from all the dope, I didn't have my liver wasn't processing, and I was getting all this poison, and I was real, real sick, and I thought I was dying. I remember hearing God tell me, call your kids. And I was like in the hotel, I couldn't even trick no more. I couldn't do nothing. And the lady that owned the hotel, she took me to the hospital, and she said, I said, can I stay here for a few days? My son will pay for it. I stayed with them for a few days, and then I went to Wayside Christian Mission in Louisville. I got clean again, was doing good again. About 3 months after I was in a Christian mission, this lady came and got me and took me to her halfway house, and she said, this is a halfway house, but you have to go to church and you have to believe in Jesus. And I'm like, believe in Jesus for what? You know, look what he allowed happen in my life. How can I look at Jesus? And anyway, she took me to church. I would fight her. I would say, I'm leaving. We're in the west end of Louisville, and I'm running down there, so I'm gonna get high. And she just run after me and throw me on the ground and start putting her hands on me, praying for me. And I see how much she loved Jesus, and I said, why am I being mean to this lady? She's trying to help me. And she loaned me money for clothes and shoes, and I got a job working at the Derby, the Kentucky Derby and stuff. And when I worked, I paid her every penny that I owed her. The other girls take advantage of her, but she had the Rose of Sharon. And she told me about Jesus, and I started going to church with her. And I think that's when I start, you know, I knew somebody loved me, and it was God. And but it didn't stop me. I was reading my Bible. I lived in Fort Knox with my daughter. She asked me to come home with her. I quit going to meetings, quit going to church, and I just lived with my daughter. Her husband was deployed. I got me a job as a second cook at Fort Knox, and I was doing so good. Right at my 90-day mark, that little voice told me, why don't you go get you one more? You've been doing good for so long. You can just do one. Nobody will know. I was dating a soldier. I met him on the internet, and I found out he was lying. He had a wife, because he always left me his big, beautiful truck when he went out of town. And it just hurt. So when I hurt, I go use. He went to Kuwait, left me his truck. And I took the truck and I went back out to the streets. My daughter pleaded me, Mom, you have a beautiful house here. I had the keys to his house. I had a beautiful house, but I went to a crack house with a bunch of Mexicans and lived there. The floor was so filthy you couldn't even walk across the floor. They tried to sell us, but they didn't. You know, I was a lot smarter than that. I didn't, nobody was getting my dope. They would have to kill me. So I went back out to the streets again and got more of what I was getting. It just went on and on for a couple of years. I mean, I'd go back and forth to rehab. I used to like riding the fence. I said I could do this and come back and do this and come back. So I rode the fence. I'd go to rehab, go back. My last 5 years, I got with a guy I met, and he was very demonic. He was abusive. He was a convicted murderer. I got a place after 6 months after dating him. He didn't try to help me or anything. I got a place, and I got me a house and all this stuff. I let him move in with me. It was Sunday. By Friday, I guess he was getting high, and I was catching on to it. And he started beating me in my own house and took control over me in my house. I stayed clean for a few months. But, when he would beat me, nobody would hear me scream. So I moved out of the house. But he had such a hold on me like the drugs. It was worse than the drugs. He had a demonic hold on me like the drugs. So we moved into in the west end of Louisville. It's really bad there. We moved into a rooming house. So I said, well, at least if I could scream, people would hear me. So we went and moved there, and one time he beat me so bad, I was screaming, and he held my head. I was folding clothes, and he put my head in the clothes, and I was bleeding. I was choking on my own blood because he had beat me so bad. It looked like I was going to school too. I was going to my psychology class. I was going for I was doing a presentation on domestic violence, and the day that I was supposed to go, my face looked like a train hit me. So I just quit school. I didn't even go back. I just left, and I said, well, there's, But anyway, I remember living in that. He worked nights, I worked days. He worked at a place because he couldn't get a job because of his record. He worked where they paid him by the day. So he would take his money and get high, and I would ask him, hey, do you got your part of the rent? Not mine. I can pay my own. But he would beat me. And one day I just got the men that lived upstairs, they were buying crack. I knew what they were doing. And one time they said, come on up here. And I said, no, I'm recovering. And then one time I came home and I looked and somebody stole my food. I just bought it out of my refrigerator. So I went up there cussing them out. And they handed me this big old rock, handed me the pipe. And I remember looking at that crack, just looking at it. And when I looked at it, I put it on that pipe and hit it. That thing, one hit, took me out for 3 more years. I remember when I lived there, I took off when my boyfriend came home. I was scared of him. I was getting high with the guys upstairs, and I said, y'all gotta hide me. He was on the front porch. I ran out the back, and one of the guys, they went right past him and went down, and they met me. And I remember I was at his house getting high, and I heard God's voice. The guy had left, and I was by myself. And I wasn't tripping or nothing. I was just waiting for the guy. He took a long time to get back, and I heard God's voice say, Deborah, I've had my hand on you all of my life. And if you don't quit what you're doing, I'm going to have to take my hand off of you, and whatever happens to you, happens to you. But that didn't scare me. For 3 years, I got a job in a machine shop, and I worked with only men. When I was living with the guy, I was working in a machine shop, and I lived a double life. But the guys looked at me funny because they saw I never really talked to them. I just had, black eyes and stuff. And it was supposed to be a temporary job, but God gave me favor. It's a machine shop. Women don't work in a machine shop there. They've never worked there. I was the only women. Anyway, I was doing a temp job there, and they liked me, and I would do anything they asked me to do. And they trained me blueprints. I learned how to read blueprints. I learned how to cut metal. I learned how to run CNC machines. That was my safe haven. I stayed sober for a while. When I worked, I would go in and out of addiction there, but that was my safe. I didn't have to be at home with that man beating me, so I couldn't wait to go to work. And when I was at work, I was a different person. I was learning. I was doing things that women don't do. I was doing hard, heavy work. And I don't know, I just would go in and out of addiction. I would get clean for a couple of months and go back out. He would beat me a couple of months. He would beat me. I put him in jail. I put him in, see, the domestic, I had an EPO on him. I broke the EPO by letting him in, but I would put him in jail 4 times in about 2 years. And the last time they gave him 30 days. So the EPOs, it doesn't help anybody really. And if they want to get you, they'll get you. But he ended up going back to Richmond, Virginia. He did an armed robbery. He went to jail for 18 months. I ended up, for some reason, thinking I could get another job. See, because I was doing a double life. I started getting high on the weekends. I worked during the week. And one night, I would take my van, like on Fridays, I would get paid. I would get my dope for the day, and I'd put enough gas in my van to get me to Shelbyville. It's like 45 miles away. But anyway, I could hit Friday, I'd get high. Saturday, I would go to Shelbyville and prostitute, get money. And and that turned into Sunday. Then Monday I had to go back to work. I stayed good, but somehow I wanted to move to Shelbyville. But I remember one time when I was doing this, I was up there getting my money for my dope. I had enough money, and this one Mexican man was telling me, hey, come over here. And I said, I got a van. You can go in my van, and we can park anywhere. And he took me on this long, dark road. He said, follow me. And I'm like, okay. But then when I went, it was way out in the middle of nowhere. And when I went there, my spirit started getting messed up. So I was like, it says, don't stop. I heard in the voice, don't stop. And I never knew that was the Holy Spirit. I just thought it was my gut feeling. But he was parked on the side of the road, and there was a road right here. And I heard in my voice that go to that road and turn around and floor it. So when I went past him, I waved at him. And then I told, I said, wait here. I said, I'll wait right here. I'm going to turn around and come back. And when I turned around, I just floored it. And I don't know. And even though I knew I was doing wrong, I started praising God and thanking him. Because I don't know what, something was fixing to get me right there. And I don't know what it was. And I was thanking God. And I said, God, I know I'm doing wrong. I know I'm doing drugs. But thank you. Thank you. Anyway, after that, I ended up moving to Shelbyville. I worked at that job 2 weeks. They laid me off. I got unemployment. So I lived in this house that I lived in before. It was, everybody was doing drugs there. They knew I do drugs, so they would knock on my doors all hours of the night. And I was very picky. I didn't let anybody come in my house because I knew bad spirits. I know bad people, and I didn't want to be around the bad people. So I was very picky who I let come in. We were getting high one night, and I called this guy Crack Fairy because he was one of the guys that had a business owner, and he would run away and he would spend a couple $1,000s. So he came to my house that night. I had just come back from Western Louisville, had my own stuff. He had stuff. We lived in the basement, and he kept on freaking out because he'd hear people. I said, man, that's okay. But then I heard a noise that was somebody running and stuff. What happened? A guy, I was on the basement. He lived on the second floor, got murdered upstairs. And it was, I had seen him the night before. I knew him. He told me a couple of weeks ago, one of my friends, that he was going to kill her son and her. And I thought he was just joking. I was mad at the girl. So I prayed, and I told her, I'm so sorry, because I didn't mean to tell that guy to come get you. Here you are. I didn't know he was really capable of doing this. But anyway, he murdered the guy upstairs. The police were up there. I went up there just like, what are y'all doing? They knew me. They told me, go back to my room. And we still getting high with when we live in a room in a house, they're allowed to come in the house anywhere. And we just kept getting high. I couldn't stop. The house, I didn't know I was prophetic until after I got clean. But I kept on seeing spirits. Like 5 people had died in that house before of different occasions, heart attacks. He was the 5th person that died. Well, the guy that after I moved out, got the guy, one of the guys, they found him with a needle in his arm. He died of overdose. Another guy that lived in that same apartment too when I lived there, he was seeing demons and ran out in front of a car and got hit. And his girlfriend got hit she died after that. Another lady, there's 2 girls that lived in the front room where my friend's brother died in. They both died like a year or 2 later. They died the same night in their 2 different towns. See, I'm seeing all this in the spirit. And then, let's see, another guy that lived in that same room, because there was different people in and out. This other guy that lived there, he died of cancer. And then my best friend, that she heard it all, and me and her talked about this. She passed away, but she had COPD. She knew she was dying. And 2 days before she died, we talked about it. She found him and she passed away. Like, I just keep on seeing a curse over this house. And I know I'm not in a curse anymore. God has redeemed me from that. But I was just see things like that. I don't know, when my boyfriend came back, I was living there, and he talked me into getting another apartment because he couldn't beat me there because the landlord would call the cops on him and stuff. So I went and got another apartment. The first night he beat me up. I put him in jail. He was there for 30 days. I kept on wanting to quit doing dope, but it's like the devil. He would like bring people that wanted a lot of dope.
So Deborah, how long have you been clean?
February the 6th will be 6 years.
Awesome. How do you feel now?
I feel good. I feel like I'm in my right mind. I can sleep at night. I feel great. I mean, I've never felt this good in my life. I feel better now than I felt before because I have recovery. I live for Christ. Before I didn't have all this. Instead of looking for answers in drugs and men, I found my answers in Christ, and he takes care of me and he does everything for me. And I wish I would have found this before, but it was like I was looking for something and I found it now. All this stuff, I found it in God, not in drugs or men.
What advice would you tell someone that's still dealing with addiction?
I would tell them that there is a way out. I mean, because you don't think that there is a way out. You think that you're hopeless, helpless, and there's no way out. You'll never be able to stop. But I had to pull deep down inside of me and had to pull myself out of that. And I had to have God guiding me because, for 9 years, I tried to get sober, but I left God out because I kept on doing old behaviors, old things, doing the same old thing. But once I put the God as the head of my life, he started teaching me a new way. He taught me how to love the right way. He taught me. And then I don't crave drugs anymore. I crave God. I crave a good life. I crave to have things that I've never had before. I mean, in 6 years, God has done so many miracles in my life that I'm like, it's mind-blowing. And for me, I slept in abandoned houses and just slept with different men just to have a place to sleep. Now I have my own home. I have a brand new car. And the money things it's not everything, because I praise God I got a car, because I remember I never had a car. I used to walk all the time. So yes, I praise God that, I have everything I need. I never want for nothing. All my needs are met. And I just rely on God for everything instead of relying on tricks to give me. I don't go, if I could be broke as a joke, I don't go looking for men to give me money. I rely on God. I give all him. I said, okay, God, I need some money. I need money, and it comes. And I'm just going to say this. Yesterday when I got up here, my credit card, I lost my cards to go get a motel room, my money card. It was gone, and I just got gas in my car. And then I went to go pay for my room. I went to my other card. I went to go pay gas, but it was too much snow. It was over in Maryland. I didn't get the gas. They took all my money off my card. So I'm like, okay, I'm all the way up in Cleveland. I need a room. And I went down and I found a credit card and I had just enough for my room. And I probably had $15 in cash to get back home. And I started praying and saying, God, I know that you sent me here, and I know the enemy is going to try to, he tried to distract me. He tried to distract me last night. Instead of focusing on today, I was focusing on money. And I said, I'm not going to focus on the money because I know God's going to take me. Even if I don't have that money, I got enough to get home. Well, today, when I opened, I prayed and I said, the enemy, if you don't give me back, you're going to owe me, so you better give it back. And I checked on my phone, the other money hasn't come back. I went and opened my Bible, and there was my card.
Look at that.
And see, the enemy wants to throw me off and tell me, oh, you don't have this or you don't have this. But I know my God is powerful. I know my God took me. And I want to talk about this. The last 2 weeks, God dealt with me to get out of that. He told me to leave that house that I was in. And I had all kinds of stuff. He said, leave that house. Take 2 tubs of clothes. That's all. Don't take any more. So I fought with him for 2 weeks. And I knew a man. He said, come to my house. I have a lot of money. We can get high. So the day before I tried to get it, the last night that I used, I wanted to go with him because I know I said, I want to get high one more time before I go get, stop. But God didn't let me. And I remember the last time that I used, I was walking down the street. There was an ice storm. I walked over down power lines. I prayed to get there and prayed to get back. And when I got back, I tried to commit suicide. I told God, you didn't take me today. You said you told me to wait for you, and you told me, and I was ready, and you didn't come get me. So if you can't help me, nobody can help me. And I put the crack on my pipe. And I said, God, either you kill me or you help me. And I put the whole, it wasn't enough to kill me. I woke up the next day, there was a knock on my door. I said, okay, I guess I'm just gonna have to live like this till I die. And it was a trick. I got $20. I was walking down to go get another hit, and I know the dope was good. I went to church every Sunday for 3 years. And the man that took me to church, he was outside, and he said, Debbie, do you need your ride now? And I said, well, wait, I got $20. I want to get high first. He said, I'm sorry, but my wife has to go somewhere, and I can take you now, but I can't take you later. So I said, I knew it was God telling me, but do you want to keep on doing what you're doing and dying? I was near death. If you see pictures, I was near death. So I ran upstairs. I went and got a tub and put it in the back of his truck. I went and got another tub. I got on my knees and I said, okay, God, you're going to have to do this because I can't do this. And he told me to get up and be the woman of God I called you to be. And I took my pipes. I took my crack because I still wanted crack. He gave me a ride. I gave him the $20 for gas. And when I got there, my friend gave me $30. I was tricking him. And I was ready for party. He said, party time's over. But he gave me my money back. And he said, here's your $20. You can do what you want to with it. I can get you something if you want it. But the dope wasn't working anymore. It wasn't working. It wasn't taking away the pain. So I just stuck it out. I started detoxing. And 4 days later, I ended up in an apostolic church. The prophet of God told me, I don't know what happened. I don't know what you're running from, but if you go back, it's going to kill you. I didn't know if it was the man or the drugs, but I listened. I went back to my friend's house. He worked at night. I cooked. I scrubbed his walls. I was so grateful. He gave me a place to live. And he never bothered me. And later on, he's one of my good friends today. He's sober today. And I said, how come you didn't bother me anymore? He goes, I don't know, but I know that was God, because I remember going to church when I was a little kid, going to church and giving my life to Jesus, but going to have to come back to hell that I lived in. And God, he put me in a house with my daughter. We don't get along. I was planning to stay at the homeless shelter 3 months after my daughter went to prison, and I ended up with her 12-year-old daughter. And I lived with my daughter's boyfriend and my daughter and took care of her for 2 years till I got sober. Now, Raymel, can I ask you a question? Do you care?
My name is LaRonda McKay. I'm with RNA Productions, and today we are here doing a documentary called Do You Care? Today I have with me Miss Angela Williams, who has humbly agreed to share her story with us. Welcome. So Angela, can you tell me how you were introduced to drugs?
It was in my household. We grew up around it. My parents used to have cabaret parties and stuff, and they would have everybody there. White people, black people, Chinese people, whatever. It's people that they worked with. And when they threw their parties, people smoked their weed and they drank and everything. You know, the kids would be in the basement. This was the 70s. And the kids would be in the basement. And they used to, when they would hit the number, that was before the number was legal here in Ohio, they used to hit for 100 grand or more. So it was not uncommon to see our tables filled with money, suitcases, and things like that. Plus, they worked regular jobs. So when they threw their parties and stuff, it was weed, and sometimes the paraphernalia would be around the house the next day. Once everybody and their kids or whatever left. What is it? It's a little purple little hitter, the power hitter. That's what they called it, with the baseball and the guy, the baseball player in his bat. So, that's how I'm introduced to weed. I think it might have been a couple of people there that did other stuff, but we never saw that. We just knew that our parents smoked weed and they drank.
So Angela, how old were you when you started using marijuana?
I was 13 or 14. I know I was mad at my mom. My dad had passed. She just wouldn't talk to me about something. And I went and I got some of her weed. And at that time, I had a boyfriend. And his father sold weed, him, his grandmother, and him, the family. They had a cartel connection. So his dad gave my mom some weed. He gave her like one of the large freezer bags. He gave her half of that because he just had mad respect for my mom. My mom was a toughie in the neighborhood, and she was one of those ladies. She was cool, but don't fuck with him. And anyway, I got mad. The boyfriend's father had gave me the weed to give to my mom. So I took a handful. Never smoked before. I was just selling little joints to friends in school. I knew a girl that was on heroin that sat behind me in French class, and so I didn't want her to shoot up no more, so I was selling weed. I got mad at my mom, and I went and got one of the joints, and I smoked it. I didn't smoke the whole thing. I just hit it a couple times and just wanted to know what it was like, And I saw everybody seem like it was happy, so I smoked it.
So Angela, Who knew about your problem with marijuana, and how long were you using?
I used it on and off. Nobody really knew. Actually, I was doing it, what they call it, recreationally. I moved out my mom's house, left with my son's father at that time, and we moved to California. And I really wasn't smoking it at first when I got there and stuff, because my son's father, he was smoking crack. And I was already, I was just at this point as a young single mother. I just wanted my life. I just got tired of drugs. I got tired of everything that was going on. And I had my own place and everything until I moved to California. And then I just got tired of shit. So once, I think it was my birthday, it was my 18th birthday. I had my first real official drink, liquor and beer, and I saw I didn't like beer. I never did, actually. So I tried some liquor, and I smoked some weed, and I guess that was my little coming of age party. And from there, like I said, I smoked it recreationally, but then I didn't do it too much because I had 2 kids, and my son's father, his sisters, his stepfather, I didn't know until I moved out there. And that was about a month later after my birthday that everybody was getting high off cocaine or crack. So I couldn't really smoke weed like I wanted to. So the only thing I could think of was I got to get my kids out this shit and away from it. And it got to the point to where I just stopped. We moved to a house. We eventually moved to a house in Claremont. And that was a little more stability for me and my kids and everything. Got a job and stuff. And everything, I guess, was okay for me until one day I went to the store to buy some shoes for my son. And his father had stole the shoe money and went on one of his smokeouts. I used to call him the Great American Smokeouts because he would hide for days. And I knew he took it. I came back to the house because I went to Claremont Mall. I came back and we ended up fist fighting when he showed up days later. Everybody in the house getting high, smoking weed, powder, whatever have you. And we ended up fist fighting. I slapped a gallon of juice out of his hand and we got to fighting. I eventually moved out and I didn't smoke anymore until I would say a year and a half later. One of their friends became friends with me. She befriended me. She was an older lady. And she took me and took my daughter in. I had gotten my son back because eventually his father took him, brought him back here to Cleveland. And while I was in friendship with that lady, she was smoking crack. I started smoking weed again. It wasn't heavy, and I'm not making excuses or nothing because, like I said, my main goal was my kids and stability. Because once my dad had died, once my father had died and everything, my mom eventually started smoking crack. Why? Because her boyfriend started sneaking and giving her primos. So me and him used to fist fight because I wasn't going to let him push on us the childhood he had with his stepfather and his mother. So much so that just to protect my mom, after me and the boyfriend, I really don't want to name their names because, you know, nobody can help how they got in it. But I would go get the weed to make sure my mama wasn't smoking crack. I used to run errands to have money in the house for me and my sister. My brother left. It left me there and my sister there. And none of our family, none of this great big ass family that's here came to help us. They only came to take right after my dad died. But anyway, so I was going and I was getting the weed from my mom, and he knew the guy I was getting the weed from. He was a pimp, he was in the neighborhood, so on and so forth. The boyfriend's father, he knew what was going on in our house. So I would run errands and stuff, and he would call me baby girl. So I learned a lot, you know, about the game. That's how I was able to eventually sell weed. Later on, to make ends meet, I did sell crack. I was even at one point pimping women out. I got to learn a lot of people and know people because I didn't talk. I was baby girl and I didn't talk. I never talked about anything. I could hold everybody's secret, so it wasn't uncommon for me to sit around older people who were in the game. Even to the point to where later on in my life, I got married. God blessed me to get married. I was smoking weed then. My kids were a little older. They were school age. Me and my ex-husband would smoke weed, but I didn't want to be desperate. I didn't want to be slanging out of my house. So that's how I eventually got to pimping. One day, these guys came to the house and my ex-husband answered the door. And he was wondering why I was nervous. We was kind of low on funds, you know, as far as what me and him made. He didn't know they had $50,000 hid in the closet that I had to turn over to the dude that I was helping run the pimps. Nobody knew. There were times that my ex-husband wondered where I was disappearing to at night. I was running call girls. He was wondering how I knew about things that was in the news, like Fidel Castro's daughter being in America, because I brought girls to a certain place, and she liked girls. She hadn't yet told Fidel that she was gay, and when she came to America, she was running with her son. Eventually, me sitting smoking weed with my ex-husband, it was just recreational. But I didn't know that recreation would wreck your fucking life. I ended up homeless. I ended up not only homeless, our kids was taken away from us, and the only thing that we had to do was take drug tests. I even went and I bought the stuff to clean your system, everything. I wasn't smoking no more. I stopped smoking because one day me and my ex-husband was smoking, and because I had been abused, battered, because I was a fighter, he yelled in my ear and he smoked the rest of the blunt. And I said, fuck this shit. I ain't smoking no more. Fuck this. He said, come on. Because this was his escape as to our kids not being in the house. And him signing our fucking kids over to his sister. I was a check writer. I got addicted to that while smoking weed. The same older lady came to my fucking job. I wasn't smoking weed. I had my own place, got away from my son's father. I had life stable. I was going to nursing school. I was going to be an x-ray tech. I was 3/4 of the way. 3/4 of the way.
Oh, okay.
I was 3/4 of the way. My son's father and the lady, they came, picked me up from work, picked up my daughter from daycare and said, hey, you know what? If you need anything, we can go to the store and you can write a check. I said, write a check? I still ain't got no money. All I had was the monies that I was getting from my job, from the state. At that time, you could work. So I'm racking up, life is good. They said, no, we talking about writing some checks. And I said, I ain't got no fucking money. And they said, we just wrote some checks, and the older lady, her daughter worked at a particular store. She was the manager, so she can clear anything, everything, and she did. They went in there, wrote checks, took me to the store. I was nervous. I didn't do it the first day. The second day I thought about it. I need shit for my kids. So I go, write the checks. First check was $300. I knew I had $300 in the bank to cover. This was just to appease them. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, I did get some shit for my kids. Everything is everything. But then I thought about it. What I missed from my mom. Why I was mad. The first fucking time I smoked that weed. What I missed. I missed my mom's hug. I missed my dad. Despite the fucked up shit. We think that our parents are raising us right sometimes. Yeah, because we... Not with all these people in your fucking house. Not with their friends taking you spend the night with their kids and their father molesting you. You can't have everything. You can't have it. And it was the money, it was the weed, it was the so-called family friends. Only to find out later, this dude was fucking his daughters. Mama knew too. Why? Because one night, spending the night over there, he puts me on his wife's titties. Anyway, it's like this. I lost a lot with weed by the grace of God, and I'm still praying for my ex-husband. I had to get away, and I had to save my own life after leaving from that, after losing my kids. I thought maybe building a business. That went awry. I had a check that was out there floating for $40. I had over $3,500 in Clorox bleach jugs, coins, dollars, money in the bank, all this stuff, trying to build a trucking business. His addiction got to the point to where he didn't want to ride in the truck with me anymore. He wanted to be with his friends smoking. So he was with me. We were getting ready to move from the apartment we stayed in because his friends next door was doing too much in their addiction. And I put a deposit down on the house. He was with me in the truck. He was in the back. I went to jail. He left me there. even the sheriffs who knew me from back and forth, check writing and stuff, I was trying to get my shit together, so I stopped writing the checks. I prayed to God, God save me from the addiction. God told me not to smoke no more. I saw an angel. God told me not to smoke no more, and I did. I didn't. I thought that things would get better. They didn't get no better. This man left me in jail, spent all the money, went on a smokeout, they barbecued. He didn't go get the deposit or either try to go forward with the house. So the apartment, my son who was staying there trying to finish school, he gets evicted. The ex-husband gets evicted. So now got no place to stay. I have to live with my sister-in-law who hates my guts. I get out of jail, he left me $60 flat, $60. That's all I had. And still a pack of Newports at that time when I smoked the Newports. His friends was telling him, Miss Angie gonna kill you. She gonna kill you. And they know at that time I had hands and God was trying to save me. But I didn't want to kill him because I knew God had a promise for me. So I ain't kill him. I even after that, I helped him get his CDL, everything. Long story short, because of the weed, God brought me back up here to my promise, back to Ohio. But in the meantime, there was no excuse. There was no excuse. It got to the point to where I had an accident. A lady hit me with a Suburban in my truck, an 18-wheeler. I was out of work for 30 days. I gave this man money to get his stuff together so he can get his CDL, still trying to start the business. Somehow or another, he ended up on the fucking Indian reservation. He ends up on the Indian reservation. He's calling me on the phone. The trucking company he went to put him out. And the Indian he was with, both of them pissed hot. So he's on the reservation. He's calling me saying, can you send me a ticket? I said, to where? Back home? He says, yeah, but guess where I am? I said, where are you? I'm on the Indian reservation. I met the chief. We smoking good. So it's just one. I laugh because that's my healing. That's my healing. And I just, oh my God. People just don't believe you can lose everything. You can lose everything. There are things that he does not remember because he been, smoking, and people said, oh, he had to be smoking crack. No, he was smoking weed. He was smoking weed. So much so till he went to bed with sunglasses on to keep me from seeing his eyes and looking at him because he would say I was looking in his soul.
So let me ask you something. When you were using marijuana, what did it emotionally make you feel like? Like, where did it take you mentally?
Mentally, at first I was relaxed. Things were a little funny, but then weed changes as the years progress. So much so to another reason why I stopped smoking is because I would end up finding corners in the house or wherever I was. I would find a corner. Most of the time I'd be in the house. I was lonely. I was missing my kids. I was missing just life. And I would be in the corner saying, please, God, help me. Help me. So I would be standing there. Sometimes he would say, oh, you in that fucking corner again, huh? What you hear out the corner? Even when I smoked by myself, like I said, towards the end, I would just be there because it would ease me to be able to just talk to God like he was right there in the room. And I would just let him know, I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. It helped me not to commit suicide. It helped me not to commit suicide.
Angela, when and how did you decide to quit?
Like I said, the Lord told me not to smoke. Don't smoke no more. I started reading my Bible. On and off, I was going to church. I had faith. I just decided, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I've always loved the Lord. I've always been drawn to the Bible. There were certain parables and different things I used to read, and I kept praying. I asked God to show me a prophet. I've always been drawn to the prophet. So I said, God, show me a prophet. Give me a word. Talk to me like you be talking to everybody else. And I listened. I stopped. He started showing me my pastor. But I didn't know who she was. She kind of favored, I'm drawn to music. So she kind of favored a singer, Candy Staten. I didn't know at the time Candy Staten was preaching. And also, I didn't know that at the time that I was having the ins and outs with my mom. I used to go for walks, and I didn't know I was walking past my church. But I had to listen to God. The God showed me an angel. Angel came to me at my worst point. And I stopped, and I just saw so many miraculous things after that. So many miraculous things. I eventually started learning that here goes your love right here. I've always loved you. You didn't know who I was, but I always loved you. And that's what made me stop, because I started loving me, started seeing me get out of the hole, not just trying to reach out and get my kids back and all of that. It was God loving on me, God showing me things, and me writing it down. He kept telling me, write it down, write it down, write it down. During my time that I would write it down, like I said, it was hard. I was watching my ex-husband, because before I got on the truck, I would just write down those dreams, write down everything. Even so, when I got ready to go to truck driving school, he took a 40-ounce beer bottle over my head in the wall in the bedroom. He wanted to hit me, but I had rolled. I was dead asleep. And I heard a voice say, get up. And I used to roll real quick. And I rolled real quick, and the hole was in the bed right there. And he tried to fight me. I fought him back. I hit him too hard. Then the fights would stop. We never did it in front of the kids, but like I told him, I'm not gonna smoke no more. And I ain't going through this shit no more, and I'm getting the fuck out of here. And either you can go or you can stay. That was my determination. I realized God loved me. I didn't know who I was or anything. I just knew he loved me, and I wasn't finna smoke no more. And it was what it was. And I won't lie, I did do it again. After I met my new husband, we moved into the house the Lord gave us. Blessed us with the house. And the first night, I had a dream. I said, don't smoke no weed. I went, I think it was like 3 or 4 months after us living there and stuff and going to visit my mom and whatever. And I smoked. For 30 days, I learned about hard-headedness, being hard-headed. We had enough to eat. We had enough to catch the bus back and forth to church. We had nothing else. Nothing else, just church and food and, you know, the bills take care of for them 30 days. And I had to go repent hard. And after that, I started seeing things, you know, God forgave me. But after that, I told who is my husband now, I'm not fucking smoking, man. No, God is serious, it's cancer. I'm not smoking. But I just really and truly believe that people just don't believe that weed will tear your whole house up. I mean, I had a friend who shot her husband because he smoked the last of the blunt, and they separated. They got their own people, but once a year they get together, get a hotel room and smoke out. I mean, that's crazy to me. But people do what they do. I just can't see me doing it. I don't condemn people for it. I do understand that, you know, you need it for medicine. It helps with PTSD and so on and so forth. I do understand that now. But as far as anything else goes, I can't see it for myself. God is too good to me. And I just hope that it just helps the person. I mean, because I still see things, my son, he's addicted to it. And I don't know if he's smoking it now or not. I don't know. You know, I just, the grace of God, I just keep praying over them and for them and for anybody in it, you know. Yeah. The only thing I can say is that I just keep hope, keep faith, but I can't do it because I got too much to live for. Right. I can't. It had me in a place where I was just numb. I was numb and I was stuck. And ain't no life in numb and stuck. It ain't no life in it. There's no life. There's no life. You're just sitting in one spot. And to me, that's death. That's death. That's like somebody torturing you and saying, okay, I'm gonna nail you down to the floor and I'm gonna nail your mind and I'm gonna leave you there to rot. That's what weed is to me. That's what it is to me. I mean, medicinally, it helps other people, it helps with pain and so on and so forth. Right. But for me to smoke that shit, some people would say, you sound like you're smoking crack. No, that's fucking weed for me. I don't want to be standing there looking at a wall and shit, talking about, Jesus, help me, please. I ain't doing that shit. Right. I got other things to do. I got other things to do. No, that's not for me. And I'm not going to live bound up, and I'm not going to be depressed, and I'm not, fuck that. That's not for me. That's not for me.
So what advice would you give, seeing what you went through? Would you offer someone else some advice? What would it be?
My advice, honestly, don't do it. You got your whole life. And if you are going to do it, is it worth it to you? I mean, really, is it worth it to you? It started out as a recreation, but recreation wrecked my fucking house. Wow. Now, LaRonda, I want to ask you a question. Do you care?
Jamal Smith here today with Michelle Shriver. We're here to discuss her addiction and the trouble she's experienced in the past to give us insight on her story. Welcome, Michelle. Thank you for joining us. I just would like for you to share with us your story on addiction and the initial introduction of how your addiction became and how it came to be.
Yeah, it was when my sister died when I was 13. She got killed in a car accident. And I started smoking weed My mom smoked it, so I used to go and pinch her bag, nothing big. And then from there it spiraled. I did acid, we drank. I would take shampoo bottles, like VO5, rinse them out real good, and take not vodka, rum, to school in 7th grade in my locker.
So you were young.
Mm-hmm.
So
I just did everything I could just to numb the pain.
From your sister.
Mm-hmm.
And step by step, that was immediate? Or
Oh yeah, it was immediate. Just whatever I can do just to numb it.
You didn't have anyone to talk to?
No, my mom didn't. I didn't even see my mother cry.
No.
No.
So you knew that your mother were smoking.
Oh
and
yeah.
This was marijuana at first.
Mm,
You knew she was smoking marijuana.
yes.
Did you have any idea of what it was doing for her?
No,
Or
I
what
didn't.
made you? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
That's
So I
okay.
asked you this. What made you believe that would help? Where'd that come from?
Because not like it would make me, like, I did know my mom smoked it and she seemed like she was like just mellow and chill in her room, or she'd be playing. We had a big room with a big TV. We all played Atari back there. She was a different mom when she smoked weed. She seemed, fun. So I thought I would take the weed and I'm gonna try it. And I was. It was fun. Me and my friends did it. We giggled, we laughed. Then I began to babysit, and I got paid marijuana.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and $5 bags were big back then.
How old were you when that happened?
13 or 14.
Who would do that for you?
My best friend's sisters, who I babysat for.
Now this is something you asked for, and this is just.
I just knew that they had weed all the time, so I told them I'd babysit for weed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to get too far ahead of us. I still want to explore. So you spoke about your sister, and that was the trigger. What happened with your sister? What happened?
She went to a party with some guy, and she was only 17. She was 19, sorry. She was 17 when she had a daughter. And it was far out, like in New London. I don't even know where it's at. And he let her drive, supposedly. And she went to hit the brakes, or hit the gas. She didn't even have a driver's license. They were both drinking. So he shouldn't even have let her drive in the first place, but he did.
Right.
And I guess she flew up over a hill and the car was upside down in the tree, and she snapped her neck and died instantly.
At what age was
She was about to be 20. She was 19.
she? At a party. Some guy lets her drive drunk. Inexperienced lets her drive drunk.
Yeah.
You get the news.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Where were you when you got that news?
At my cousin's house in Seven Hills, and my aunt was in the other room. It was real late at night, and I heard a scream that I'll never forget. And then I walked in and we went running, actually, me and my cousin. She told me my sister got killed.
So let me ask you, how did the rest of the family deal with that?
Not good. Not good. My stepfather told my little brother that his dumb sister went and got herself killed in a car accident. My brother was 5 years old, 6 maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so you took all that in, began smoking. What followed next?
After smoking, drinking, which alcohol was easy to get. All I had to do was clean my uncle's apartment. He lived upstairs from us.
Yeah.
And he would go and get me a bottle. If my mom knew that, she probably would have,
So you hid this.
Oh, I hid the alcohol, yeah.
Yeah.
She never knew, and like I told you, I took VO5 bottles. I drank Captain Morgan spiced rum.
Okay, so that begs the question. So, do you think, had anybody known that you had gone down that path? Had anybody known things that you were hiding? Do you think that it had been so dark for you?
If they had known,
that you had been drinking and smoking.
yeah, because I think they would have helped
They
them
would.
stop me.
Okay. So nobody did, and then what happened next?
Well, then I moved in with my father, who I hadn't seen in years, because one day he was there and the next day he was gone. I was probably 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to stay at his house every other weekend, but he lived with his mom and dad, but he wasn't there. He was always gone.
So you had
Like
way too much
I
freedom.
didn't even like my dad
Yeah.
because I just thought he up and left us, and no.
Yeah.
My mom cheated on him. That's how my little brother got here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can you please share with us some of your experiences while in your addiction?
Okay, let's see. You mean like the time I took acid and I was with my friend and we drove. I lived on East 63rd and we were on East 71st, and I was crying at the gas station because I didn't know where I was at and I couldn't get home. And the guy asked me what was wrong, and I said, I'm lost. I don't know where I live. I can't find my house. But I was really seriously crying. And he said, well, where do you live? And I said, on East 63rd. He said, well, you're only on East 71st. I have but a few blocks down the road to go.
Yeah.
And then another time I did acid, I seen the Planters Peanut guy walking down the street.
So you were hallucinating.
Yeah, it was funny though.
And
And the fireworks wasn't funny because I thought an airplane crashed on the street.
Really?
That wasn't.
King Giant as she climbs to 4,000 feet and heads out over.
that was new to you? Like you didn't expect that?
No.
You didn't know those drugs would do that?
Well, I knew, like, they said, like, when you do acid, like, you see, like, trails, whatever that meant, because I never saw trails.
Mm-hmm.
I heard my girlfriend laughing out of the toilet paper roll.
Really?
Yeah. But I didn't want to do that. It was, like, you were up for a few days, and you felt horrible after the fact, and, that wasn't something I wanted to do.
Okay, so you didn't want to do this.
But I did all these things to numb my pain from my sister being gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did it stop being about her and then becoming about you just wanted to be high? Or was that even the case?
No, it
Was
was
it always
about her.
about her?
It was about her. And then in high school, I had like my first real boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like, the first person I ever really loved.
Gotcha.
And we were supposed to go to a cookout, and I didn't go. I went to see Footloose with my friends.
Yeah.
And he got killed on a motorcycle. And I always blame myself because if I would have went instead of going to see that damn movie.
Take your time.
And I know I shouldn't blame myself, but I feel like if I went, maybe we wouldn't have left at that time. I don't know. A drunk driver hit him. Across the road and killed him. The passenger lived. A friend of his, it was a guy, but I always feel like I should have went. I shouldn't have went to see Footloose. Here I am having fun dancing in the parking lot, and he got killed.
Yeah.
And then my cousin came up to high school where I went to school and came and told me the next day. She found out.
And that just compounded the pain
Yeah.
and sunk you deeper.
Yep.
Okay, what happened after that?
Well, in between that, my sister and him, like I said, with my father, I never seen. And then when my sister died, he wanted me to come and live with him. So I did. I moved to Garfield with him and his new wife. And like, she tried to be the best stepmom. And I was mean. I was 13. I was,
Right.
I hated everybody. I hated the world.
Right.
They took my sister. But my dad, you know, he tried his hardest to. They bought me all kinds of whatever I wanted. But I went to school. I was rebellious there too. I went to a public school, but we weren't allowed to wear T-shirts, like with bands. And I always wore my Rolling Stone shirt with a big tongue. And they kept sending notices home, and I find out. I got kicked out of school in the 8th grade. They kicked me out, so I went back to my mom.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the mom who
Yes.
is still neglectful in her own addiction.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, she was never, I did homework. She didn't come and ever help. She just, I went to bingo all the time. And,
Right.
well, I guess bingo. I don't know. I think it was cheating somewhere. Because, like I said,
Right.
that's what happened when my dad disappeared. And I never knew why my dad was gone. Nobody ever told me.
So you blamed him,
Yeah. I
not
just-
knowing you blamed
Not
him.
knowing.
So
And I did not know until 2014 is when I finally knew.
how much?
All these years.
Yeah. How much time was that?
So when I was 13 till I was like, what? 43?
That's a lot.
That's a lot of years lost with my dad.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to recount, starting in the home, sister passes away. You have a problem with your father because your mother wasn't upfront with you about that interaction. You're babysitting. You're on marijuana. You're on
Acid,
acid.
drinking.
You're drinking, and then on top of that, it's recreational with your friends as well.
Yeah.
Correct?
Oh, yeah.
How did they influence you?
They didn't have the influence on me. They just, when we got bused, and we all met at the bus stop in the morning, and one of us would always have weed. I would pinch my mom's bag if I didn't have one from babysitting.
So it's ready available.
My mom would be sleeping in the bed, and I'd just creep in there in the morning and give me a little bit.
It's all commonplace.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you, the first time you experienced any real danger or any real instance of danger or harm to yourself using these drugs. The first time. Can you recall the first time?
Mm-mm. It does. I don't remember ever feeling like there was any harm or.
Seeing that's key. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
Because to you,
Yep.
there was no harm in it.
No, not at all. It was numbing my pain.
Right.
Yeah. But I never felt any harm at all from anything I was doing.
Up until
2014, my mom got real sick. And I was living in Tennessee. And I came up to Ohio to take care of her. And she had this ulcer thing that burst, and she had to go on emergency surgery. So they took care of that and put her in rehab to teach her how to learn how to walk and all that. I watched my mom have a partial stroke.
Yeah.
And then I told her I would take her back to Tennessee because my brothers couldn't take care of her. They didn't want to give her a bath and do all that. She couldn't do any of that.
Gotcha.
She couldn't even walk because of her hip. And so I took her back to Tennessee with me. And that was really hard because this idiot I was with, he was a drug addict. He was on meth real bad. And I kept telling him, the option's me or the meth.
Gotcha.
Man, well, obviously he chose the meth because here I am.
Right.
But when I was in Tennessee, I used to get migraines, and the neurologist gave me Percocet. Now, I've had taken Percocet for years. Not years, but for surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
All that. Never became addicted. And he had asked me for a pill. So I gave him one, and he's in the kitchen, and I go in there, and he was crushing it. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "You never snorted a Percocet?" "No. Take it by my mouth. That's what you're supposed to do."
Right.
He said, "But they hit you faster, and it's a different effect." So my dumb self said, "Okay, I'm going to try one." Nobody put a gun to my head. That was the worst thing I could have did. Because I became addicted like that.
Really?
Just like that. Yeah. It's crazy.
Can you describe that feeling?
I felt like I was Superwoman. I had so much energy, just this rush. It was awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
You often hear people say that they're chasing that hit. It's never as good as the first time. Was that the case for you?
Yeah, because like whenever I had the pills, which I had them all the time when I needed them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would get up in the morning. I always had to have a pill crushed up before I even got up. It went to bed at night.
Was it the same effect?
Every morning.
So it was the same.
Yeah, it was the same effect. Yeah, but during the day, if I did them, it wasn't like as good as it was the first time in the morning. Mm-hmm. But I was anywhere from 5, 8, 10 pills a day, Percocet.
So you said that you gave him a choice, the meth or you.
Mm-hmm.
So in your relationships or relationship,
Mm-hmm.
how did it affect your relationship concerning your dedication to a relationship? How did that play out with the drugs being in the picture on your behalf, on your side?
On the whole relationship thing in the first place was I knew him from years ago. Then I lost contact with him for like 30 years.
Yeah.
Found each other on Facebook, and I was taking care of somebody who had MS. Okay,
Yeah.
while her husband worked, but I felt like I was being used. Like I just had to do everything.
Gotcha.
So when he came to Ohio to visit, I went to Tennessee just to visit, and then I ended up liking it. So I came back, got all my shit, moved there, and I found out about the meth.
Yeah.
But at that, I didn't, and I told him like I would never love you. I would.
See, and that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I
you
could never
commit?
love anybody.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't. I
Yeah.
would never let anybody because I felt like everything I loved got taken away from me. It did.
Gotcha.
My sister, the boyfriend, pets.
So you already, this was a wall you had,
No, a big wall.
and then behind that wall was you self-medicating.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't commit to love anyone.
Mm-mm.
How did that leave you emotionally and mentally going forward though? Did you think about it? Did you think that I'm losing love and that I'm missing something and this drug is robbing me?
No, I never thought that. Mm-mm.
You never had that thought.
No. Mm-mm. And like my mom, like I said, she lived there too with us.
Yeah.
And when he was high or coming down, he was mean to my mom.
Yeah.
Really mean. Like my mom was sick though, and she was like, "I just wish I would die already." And he told her, "Well, lay down and give me a pillow." Like he would end it for her, and it was so bad. It was really bad.
How did you value yourself?
I didn't like myself at all. I didn't. I was really mean to my mom, but that's when I had found out when she was there. She told me. That's when I learned about my father.
Okay.
So then I really just had some hatred. I lost all these years with my father.
Right. But that wasn't important to you at first.
No, not at first, but then it affected me then because my mom was sick and I knew she was going to be gone.
Yeah. When did you come to those realizations? Was it after being clean?
Mm-mm.
When did you come to those realizations?
What, about my dad?
About realizing how much you were losing and had lost.
When my mom was in the hospital all the time and it started hitting me like,
Yeah.
I need to do something about this, you know. And then like my mom, she eventually, my brothers came and got her because they knew the idiot I was with, and I was like in a bad place, and I couldn't take care of her by myself. I didn't really have help from him because he was too worried about being high.
Yeah.
So she came back here, and then I knew I was leaving him because he kept choosing the meth.
Right.
And then my daughter and her boyfriend, which is my husband's son, and my daughter, which is Jerry Springer. No, I'm kidding. But he had just gone through a real bad divorce, after being married for 25 years.
Okay.
So they told me, "Mom, come on up. When you come, we're going to go to the bar with him." And I didn't want to go to the bar. I just wanted to go and go to sleep because our airplane had to circle the airport, and it was a bad storm. But she's like, well, he's got some Percocets in it. And I didn't even want the Percocet, which is crazy because I like doing Percocets, but I didn't want them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to the bar on that, and then we came here and stayed here and drank and stuff till like 5 o'clock. We actually, that time right there on my clock, because then it stopped and we never put a battery in. Because then him and we ended up talking and we had such a good time that night. And he didn't even know I had a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Whatever that thing was in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then I called the guy in Tennessee and told him I met somebody. I mean, he took me to dinner with the kids. We all went to dinner, and he was treating me like I needed to be treated that way my whole life.
So that was a turning point. That was a turning point.
Yeah. But the pills wasn't, they were still there.
It was still there. Did he know?
Yeah, he knew.
So how did you manage that? How did you manage that? How did you manage a relationship and still maintain drug use in your new relationship?
Because he knew, and I would get him, and I know he probably doesn't want me to say it, but he would get him for me too.
Gotcha.
And he always says like that he was an enabler, but I told him he wasn't. But I mean, he did get him for me.
So you actually verbalized, hey, you're an enabler.
No, I told him he wasn't.
Oh.
But he admitted. He said, yes, I am, because I would buy them for you.
You would have said.
But if I didn't have them, I was so hateful and I was so mean. I don't know how he put up with me.
Gotcha.
And then that psycho from Tennessee came up here and he pulled a gun on me and him at the bar. And he got his ass whooped. And he went to jail for it.
Your husband?
Yeah, 45 days, because some lunatic comes here, has a gun, and we got called vigilantes, but we weren't the one who was at a bar. You're not supposed to even drink and have a gun in the first place. And he's a felon.
Yeah.
And he traveled states to come here personally. And then they found a note in his car with meth, all this, saying that he only wanted to see me one time and he was going to commit suicide. But I don't believe that. I believe he came here to probably kill me or him.
Right. Yeah, you were the ones with the gun in your face. Right.
I just went in the bar to confront him because he posted it on Facebook that he was at the bar. Yeah. And my daughter and her boyfriend just happened to be there cashing a check, and they usually go and park in the back of this store, which the bar is next to, and we go there every Friday. We used to for dinner. And 3 of our kids lived right behind the bar in the house. So me, Ray, and my son went up there because my daughter called me. She was like, Mom, he's here. So we jumped in his truck. I had socks on and I didn't put shoes on. I called the police on the way there and told them, because they had already known. I've been to the police station so many times for things he put me through.
Yeah.
The process of my mom passing, and and then we went up there and I just went in. I told them to stay in the truck. I'm just gonna go in. And he had sent texts. He's done this. That's a whole nother movie. That's a story. Whatever. I could do a Lifetime movie about what he put me through.
Yeah.
And with my mom's passing. And I just wanted to go in and confront him, like, why are you here?
Right.
And Ray walked in and he seen him reach behind like this. Yeah. And he punched him. And
note the offense shifts to the right side for this play. And the ball is snapped. The quarterback fakes a throw left hand. Oh! The hole closes up on him, only to gain 1 yard. Back to the huddle.
And then I went over there and I was yelling at him. And the next thing I knew, he came out of, because he got knocked out. That was one hit. Yeah. I just went over there to yell, like, are you happy now? This is what you came here for? And then I seen the gun.
Oh.
Yeah. It's just, and once again, that was like something that messed with me mentally, to have somebody pull a gun on me.
Yeah. So you took that internally.
Again, yeah.
Again.
Yeah, even though, like I said, I didn't love him, none of that, but for somebody to come and do that, I mean, but there was so much in between with the phone calls, he posted all this stuff on Facebook, just all kinds of crazy stuff. And I kept going to the police and telling them that they didn't care. It's you. What was it? Freedom of speech. He's allowed to say what he wants.
Right.
And we made a video. I'll never do that again. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're at the point you're getting out of an old relationship. You met your husband. The drugs are still in play.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you said that's your turning point. You saw hope there? Did you see hope there that made you say, okay, we need to do something about this?
About the
drugs.
pills?
Yeah, because you got the husband out of the way. I mean the ex-boyfriend out of the way.
Yeah.
You have a husband. This is somebody who has your back.
Mm-hmm.
You recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
You're still in drug use though.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to make it work. You want to manage. You want to manage life. You see light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
What happens after that?
Well, I still kept doing them and doing them and doing them, and I tried to quit. I like cold turkey. I even called my doctor and talked to them, and the nurse there told me to go across the street to the hospital. That she called there and they would get me into rehab.
Yeah.
I went there and they gave me a patch, clonidine or something,
Mm-hmm.
and I was good for a couple of days with that too.
Okay.
But once again, I went back to them. And like I said, I could always get them. There was never an issue with that.
Right.
And a friend kept calling and saying he had 30 milligrams and I would never do them. I only did 10 milligrams. He said, well, if you break it down, I don't care how many pieces you break it, it's still 30 milligrams to me. So it was our anniversary for our wedding, 2-year anniversary. And we drove and we went and got pills from this supposed friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I came home and it was a little blue pill, not Viagra. I broke it down. I broke it into quarters because it was a 30 milligram. And when I snorted it, I felt different, like drunk. And I was getting everything together for my dad's 80th birthday party, a surprise party I was having for him. And I went about doing everything I had to do, and he made drinks and he said, let's get in the hot tub. So I was okay. So I did, he gave me another pill, but I didn't even need the other pill because I still had 3 quarters left. So I took another quarter and when I did it, I used to crush Tylenol with it, which is the worst thing you can do too. And I did that little piece. We got in the hot tub and I put a facial mask on, took a sip of my drink, was watching the Cavaliers. I closed my eyes, and next thing I know, I was in the ambulance in the driveway. And I felt like Mike Tyson or somebody beat the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And the EMT asked me if I knew what happened. And I told him about the pill. I snorted the pill. And they used 3 Narcan, and that didn't work. They gave me a shot, the Narcan. I guess they had to use defibrillators. Like, I was gone.
You didn't even know.
I just know when I woke up, like, he came in the ambulance. My best friend from down the street was outside. She thought I was dead because her neighbor had a scammer, and he knocked on her door and told her. He said, your relative down the street is she's code blue or dead, gone in a hot tub, unresponsive. Mm-hmm.
Unresponsive in the hot tub, and how much time had gone by before anybody even discovered you?
Well, I was laying on him in the hot tub, and he said I started sliding down.
Oh.
That's when he realized, he didn't know that I was falling out. I was gone. I was going. Yep. And I guess he called 911 and they was telling him to do the CPR, and he was doing the chest compressions, and then the ambulance arrived, and I guess they used the Narcan. They spray up your nose, and then that didn't work. And then they had to do the defibrillator, and that's why I was in so much pain. They told me because with him doing the chest compressions, that's like breaking. You got pushed so far.
Yeah.
And then the defibrillators, I don't know how high. I probably flew in the air, and we have hard, whatever it is, tiles in there. Yeah, and I'm little, so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If this is the first time this has ever happened.
Yeah, and the last. I have never touched a pill after that. I was in the hospital for 3 days.
And no drug use since. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. It was one and done. Like I said, God had a purpose for me to be here.
That's interesting that you would say that. Can you tell me anything about if you have been religious or had any faith in the deity at all before and after drugs?
Yeah, like I've always believed in God. I went to church. We go on Sundays. We go to Illyria. It's called Beyond the Walls. I would go there high. I mean, on my Percocets, but I did, and
Right.
it was just, I went there, and my main thing was when I went there before the overdose was to find that forgiveness in my heart for that idiot that came up here and did what he did.
Gotcha.
I needed to forgive, and that, like the pastor was talking, you all gotta have forgiveness. You gotta forgive.
Right.
And that day, sitting in church, I forgave him. I did for what he did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You suffer anything after the drug use? Like any complications, heart? Totally healed and done.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
And it sounds tough because you it's all this time you were on these drugs. It was recreational. It was healing.
Mm-hmm.
So they would say it was healing.
Mm-hmm.
And this all it took was one time.
Yep.
And you could have been gone.
Yeah.
How do you feel about usage now? How do you feel about it? What?
No, because I know quite a few people who still do it. I'm not going to say any names, but it's just crazy because they knew that.
What you had gone through.
Yeah, and they proceeded to still go to that same guy and get the pills with the fentanyl in them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which then they couldn't afford them, and then they went to heroin.
What is it that you want us to understand going away? What is the takeaway? What do you want us to know from your heart, from you to me, to understand about addiction?
First of all, like everything that I had been through, my sister, the pain, not wanting to love anybody, and no drugs, I don't care, are ever going to make that pain. Like I said, I tried to numb myself from everything. That's why I did dumb things like I did. But no matter what, the pain's still always going to be there. My sister's gone. I can't bring her back. The boyfriend, he's gone. But I just want you and everybody else to understand drugs it's never going to take anything away. It's not going to bring back anything. There's no reason to feel that pain and that hate and just doing any kind of drugs. Don't do them. Just don't. It's not worth it. I died. I could have been dead. I could have not been here having this conversation with you. And the pain that you put everybody else through. My husband had to watch me die. He had to try to bring me back to life. And I think about that all the time, what he had to be feeling.
Because I know I don't know how anybody could, like, I couldn't, like, if I would have had to deal with, if the shoe was on the other foot.
Yeah.
That had to be the most horrible thing, to lay there. I mean, see me laying there dead.
Right.
Dead, trying to bring me
And
back.
that person being helpless in helping you, knowing they love you. Yeah.
And I was just selfish at the time. I didn't care. I just wanted pills. I didn't. And I have apologized so many times for my actions, my needing the drugs. And yeah, and like I said, I will never blame him, never call him an enabler, because I wanted him.
Right. And so today is a new day.
Yeah.
What's your outlook now?
I wish that I could just, my outlook, I'm so happy right now. Like, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
Saving a hell of a lot of money, but I wish I could just save the people that I know are still doing dumb things, and before they end up dying, and they might not be as lucky as I am, because they might not be there. Nobody could, if they're doing it together.
Right. Definitely. Thank you. Given what you've been through, do you think you would have ever quit?
If I had an overdose?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would have, because what had went on and what happened to me, and I said, like, the people that still bought them and then they went to heroin and all, yeah, I would have quit, because there are two people that I love so much, and I would have done anything, you know, to stop. And they knew I did them, so I was no better, you know, doing them and saying something to them. So yeah, I would have. And I can't. I don't want to say no names. So
No.
or any. Jamal, I have a question for you. Do you care?
I just want to dedicate my story to my sister Bobby. That was at 23-year-old, she died in addiction. Way too young. She had 3 small children, 4, 6, and 8. They had to grow up without a mother. She was killed 17 days after I got shot, after hearing voices in her head tell her to kill herself, blow her brains out, and she died on the way back from coming to Houston on interstate hitchhiking. But I didn't know why I lived and she died. I will never know, but I know how God has a purpose for me, and I just want to dedicate this to my sister, who I love very much, who I never stop thinking about her. And I know she's watching over me and her girls, because we've been reunited with our girls.